Good morning. Welcome back to Devotion. This week we are in the book of Galatians, and today we're going to be talking about that true freedom isn't doing whatever I want. True freedom is wanting whatever he wants. So to do a quick recap of yesterday, we were talking about how Paul was saying that the law was like a babysitter or a guardian or a manager for the Israelites, for humanity for a time. But what it did is it limited them. They couldn't keep the law, first and foremost. And second, he says you were basically just like a slave because you couldn't access the wealth or the inheritance of your father because you were under the law and it was basically babysitting you. So even though you may have owned everything, you couldn't access it. That is until faith was given to us. And through our faith in Jesus, we have been made sons and daughters of God, heirs of God. So we were able to access and utilize our inheritance. So yesterday, Paul was basically saying there is nothing that you can do to earn your acceptance, that you have to live from a place of acceptance. Then he goes on to talk about how you're free. Like in Christ, you are free. That's the famous verse that if who the Son has set free is free indeed. It comes from that passage where he's using this analogy of a family unit and having an inheritance. And he's saying, if the Son has set you free, if you were a slave and the Son set you free, it's as good as if the owner of the house had set you free. Basically saying, you're free. So then he goes on to talk about, well, if we're free, does that mean we could just do whatever we want? We can just go out and live life however we want? And he's saying, of course not. And Paul's response to that is, why would you want to use your freedom to have a yoke of slavery put back around your neck? It's like absurd to think about that, right? Like if I'm a slave and then someone sets me free and then I go out and I become a slave of someone else. In that scenario, I would be fully indebted to the person who set me free, and I would want to honor them with my life because I was a slave and now I'm free. And he makes the point to not use our freedom to gratify the desires of the flesh, but instead use our freedom to serve one another. And he says that in quoting Jesus, he says, because all of the law can be fulfilled in loving your neighbor as yourself. So his point is that while we're no longer under the law, we actually are continuing to fulfill the law when we love and serve one another. So because he starts to hit on this idea of using freedom for the self and for fleshly desires, he then begins to encourage the Galatians to not walk by the flesh, the desires of the flesh, but to walk by the Spirit. And that's where we pick up today. Galatians chapter 5, verse 16. But I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. For the desires of the flesh are against the Spirit, and the desires of the Spirit are against the flesh. For these are opposed to each other, to keep you from doing the things you want to do. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. Now the works of the flesh are evident: sexual immorality, impurity, sensuality, idolatry, sorcery, enmity, strife, rivalries, dissensions, divisions, envy, drunkenness, orgies, and things like these. I warn you, as I warned you before, that those who do such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. And those who belong to Christ have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. If we live by the Spirit, let us also keep in step with the Spirit. Let us not become conceited, provoking one another, envying one another. So his opening statement here in our verses today is, but I say, walk by the Spirit and do not gratify the desires of the flesh. So yesterday we read and learned that through our adoption, we were given the very Spirit of Christ to live within us that cries out, Abba, Father. So now he's saying, okay, you have his Spirit in you. Now walk by that. Let that be the thing that leads you and guides you and directs you in your day-to-day life. And he says that if I walk by the Spirit, that I will naturally, as a byproduct, not give in to the desires of the flesh. Why? because they are at war with each other. They are opposed to each other. And sometimes we like to make excuses or rationalize things. You can't be half in, half out. It's just not possible. I am either walking in the Spirit or I am gratifying the desires of the flesh. It's an either or. It's a black or white. There is no middle ground when it comes to this. And I love how then he breaks it down for us to make it plain as day. It's very obvious when I am walking by the Spirit or when I am gratifying the desires of the flesh. Why? How can I tell? Because of what is coming out of me. My behaviors, my attitudes, the posture of my heart says it all. When I go throughout my day, if I am being drawn into, like a magnet, these things that he lists here, idolatry, sensuality, jealousy, fits of anger, dissensions, divisions, envy, drunkenness, all those types of things, it's just obvious. I am gratifying the desires of the flesh. There's no other option. But if I find myself living by the Spirit, I will see these fruits come out of me. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control. And all of that fruit of the Spirit, you can't imitate it. I can't make believe that I'm loving you, or I can't make believe I'm in peace. I can't make believe that I have self-control. It either is or it's not. If those things are not present, then that is a warning sign to me that I am no longer walking in the Spirit. The thing I want to point out here is that he calls it the works of the flesh and the fruit of the Spirit. Get that. The works of the flesh means that there's lots of labor. There's lots to pay. There's lots to do. It is exhausting. It is not life-giving to the soul. But then he uses the word fruit for what comes out of our lives for when we're walking in the Spirit. Now, fruit, you don't work for fruit. If I'm an apple tree, you don't see apple trees stressed out about, oh, do we have enough of this and that and whatever else to produce the fruit that we need to produce? There's no striving. There's no work. There's no mustering it up. The fruit is a natural byproduct of a healthy tree. And the interesting thing about that is that what is fruit for? If a tree produces fruit, does that fruit benefit the tree? Like, does the tree then eat the fruit to keep itself alive? No. The tree produces fruit for the nourishment and benefit of others. Now, while taking that analogy and using it figuratively, yes, of course, when we are walking in the Spirit and we are being fruitful in the Spirit, it will benefit and nourish other people. That will be the end product. And obviously, that is going to bring a level of peace and fulfillment and great satisfaction within my soul. But the purpose of the fruit isn't for me. It is for others, which ties right back to what we started with, is that when we walk by the Spirit, that we naturally begin to use our freedom to serve one another. And hopefully, if you've watched a few of my videos, you know by now, I don't like things that are just ideas. They have to be real. They have to be real. And so with this terminology, walking by the Spirit or fulfilling the desires of the flesh is very common within the church world for good reason. But I want to challenge myself and I want to challenge you, is that what Paul is saying here is that it is very obvious when I am walking by the Spirit or fulfilling the desires of the flesh. And I know this in my life like night and day now. When I am walking in the Spirit, my heart feels so open, so generous. If someone asks me for something, if someone reaches out and needs something modified really quick, I am happy to do it. I feel fulfilled in doing that. I feel like I am serving someone. But if I'm fulfilling the desires of the flesh, it is the complete opposite. My heart is closed, constricted. I'm thinking about myself. If someone reaches out and asks me for something, I feel put out. I feel taken advantage of. Thoughts go through my head like, my life is so hard. Don't people know I have a lot going on? Just very greedy, hoarding my time, hoarding what I have, and I need to make sure I protect it and hold it as my own. When I am fulfilling the desires of the flesh, there is very little desire in me to help, to serve, to open my heart, to give generously of my time or resources to other people. But when I'm walking in the Spirit, it is the complete opposite. Even if I have a ton going on that day, someone asks me something or whatever, It's like, even if I can't get to that thing right then, there is a spirit of generosity coming out of me that wants to find a way to help them, whether it be today, tomorrow, or the next day. My response to them is one of care and concern, patience and kindness. It's like a completely different vibe that I'm giving off. And the thing I want to conclude with is that the more that I know God, and I don't mean just know about him, I mean know him, be with him, spend time with him, dwell with him, look at him, the more I want to please his heart. My heart is more soft, is more pliable. It's like I want to be like him. There's a desire in me to replicate how he is with me to other people and to experience the kindness and the goodness, the forgiveness, the mercy and grace of God. It would be nonsensical to experience that from him and then want to take all of that love, forgiveness, mercy, and grace, and then go back and put myself in bondage again to sin or to the law. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free, not for bondage, not for legalism, and definitely not to serve our own fleshly desires.